This weekend, Andy visits the carneys at the mall. Ryan's looking to get his next fix, and we get into a water fight on the Turbografx. I'm Ryan.
I'm Andy.
And this is Weekend Rental, episode 180. Well, back with another one. One of those fun days where we landed on a direct or a major announcement, and out of nowhere we landed on what might be the best Nintendo Direct that I've seen in like the last 2.5 years. And it appears that there's more to the end of the Switch than because we've talked about how it's just abysmal. Like, what's coming? Nothing's coming. Turns out, a whole lot of shit, especially if you're an RPG fan too.
Right.
Did you catch the whole thing?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, I thought the first thing that they went with was probably going to be the game for the year, right? Like It was Mario and Luigi, a new Mario and Luigi game, which
in 3D.
Great. Yeah, great. It still looks kind of like a 3DS game. Like,
yeah.
It seems like a mobile game that kind of maybe was bumped up. But
I don't know. I mean, it had like, I think it's maybe looks somewhat that way just because like the colors are still kind of muted. It's still almost like pseudo coloring book style.
Yeah.
You know, like Paper Mario, 1,000-Year Door sort of stuff. But yeah, I did not expect that one. But that one's not coming out until, is it 2025?
Oh, I thought it was this year. I thought it was this year,
Yeah. That one shocked me because those have been like cult classic games and they've never been on a home console. I mean, if you call the Switch that.
Right. And well, to have what is that? This is the 4th Mario RPG then on the Switch? Because they did an origami one, right? That was
and the remake.
And then the remake and then I guess RPG. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's and 3 of those have been this year, so it's within a year. So it's surprising that they were like, let's go back to Mario and Luigi without, maybe getting too much of that style of RPG. But
well, I can already tell you that this is going to be the game, right, for this console that you need to buy because this is going to be the one that people sleep on. It's going to have a low print run relatively, and it'll just get, it's always like that last RPG.
Yeah.
Especially or last like kind of, middle of the road interest, I would say. Like, usually it's a Kirby game, but I think this is going to be it.
Yeah, it very much could be that or if they sneak a Fire Emblem in at the end again.
Yeah, that's true. I was really surprised too that they weren't doing like kind of the lazy route that they've been doing and just doing like a remake of stuff. Because it seems like that's been their kick to keep the thing, the Switch going. So when, they started showing it, I was like, oh, this is just like a reimagined version of, one of them. And to see what the name I hate, Brotherhood, right?
Brothership?
No. Brothership. Yes. It's terrible.
It's weird. Yeah.
But to see that they didn't do that was great because then they did like the laziest cash grabbiest unveiling later on of like a port of that Donkey Kong Country Returns from the Wii U 3DS. Just like, and then to just name it HD. They literally just put HD at the end of the title. It's just like, holy crap. That thing better not retail for more than, if it's, I mean, they don't do 40, but if they do more than $49.99 and this gets a full 60, I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah. Tropical Freeze, when they did that was full 60, wasn't it?
Yeah, which is funny because it was a $40 game on the Wii U.
Yeah.
It was like
went
a
down to
discount
20 at
title.
some point. Yeah. Yeah, and it was a select at some point.
And that, I mean, I'm excited that game's coming over too. Like that one deserves like a graphical overhaul.
Yeah. But, I'm surprised that it wasn't over here already. I kind of figured it would have been, but.
Right. Yeah. And then tons of RPG stuff for people that wanted it. All those Dragon Quest remakes. They're porting Stray over, which that was like the big PlayStation 5 and PC game, right?
Yeah.
Which that game is perfect for a Switch audience,
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
So that's cool to see.
that one farming game where you like grow monsters into like Pikmin or Pokemon or something like that. That was wild. It was just like, okay, we're converging on one singular popular genre now, and here's your game.
Yeah, it was nice that they didn't just, have like a montage of like 10 farming sim or like Harvest Moon ripoff games this go around. That Metal Gear Wave, not Metal Gear, Metal Slug like Wave tactics game looked really weird. Because like they already have like that tactics game coming on. This is like a card system.
Oh, that's not the same one? I thought this. No, that's right. Because the other one is a grid-based tactics, isn't it?
Right. So this keeps the 2D side-scrolling visuals, but you're doing like full frontal like assault with like your machines. And then they're like, well, it's out today. I haven't looked at the price, but I'm curious on that. It's weird that they're doing that with the Metal Slug franchise. Like, not only are they like, doing something that appeared to be more like an Advance Wars, but then they do something kind of completely out of the realm with this in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, and cards being like the mechanic that just replaces kind of the same. I mean, it looks similar, very much what the game looks like, right?
Yeah.
Except cards are just your attack instead of a button.
Right. So it's kind of like a less cool version of Metal. I don't know. It's still interesting to me. I also loved that we're getting like a Looney Tunes sports game that literally nobody asked for. Like that, I guarantee you'll be in bargain bins around the globe.
Yeah, that I wonder if that's like supposed to be somewhat of a remake, because there was a Super Nintendo game that was like that, like
really
Looney Tunes Sports or something.
Yeah, that one didn't impress me. Any RPGs that you were like super excited about? I know there was like a lot of stuff.
I mean, the Dragon Quest stuff too looks awesome, but I mean, if anything, that's kind of what a lot of this kind of looks like, where they're taking. I mean, we can get to this before, but it looks like they're taking engines of previous games that they've done, and then like, okay, now this is ready for show. We're going to start with something, and now we're going to, that was the Octopath Traveler thing, and now it seems like they just put that in everything. They're using that engine for a whole bunch of stuff.
That Square like Final Fantasy Universe game thing, that looked interesting.
Yeah, because that's the original guy that did that one too. So
yeah, it looked like a very like almost stripped back, like back to basics sort of tactics or turn-based RPG, which I guess is probably what a lot of purists want, since they're basically action adventure games now. Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I would love just make it 8 hours. If you could make one of those games that's like 8 to 10 hours, I would be so happy. Right. Those Dragon Quest games, I would love to play them, but it's immediately right out the door. I know that I can't commit to that. Yeah.
And refresh my memory, was the remake of Luigi's Mansion already announced for the Switch?
Yeah, I think one of their previous directs they did that.
But maybe they didn't have gameplay at the time. Not that it's a secret, I guess. But
yeah.
So that's kind of interesting to see that coming over. It'd be cool if they would just bring all three. It would have been nice if they did it on a 1 and 2 collection, because then you could have all of them in one spot.
Yeah, why not? Right.
Right.
I don't. Did Original Mansion ever come to anything else? I don't think so. They never ported that, or
I think didn't it get ported to 3DS at some point?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, you're right. They did like toward the end. They did do that.
Right. I thought so. Weird. Yeah.
So
just bring it over.
It's like they're going back one, port the previous one over after you did the new one. Weird.
Yeah. Yeah, and then that new Mario Party comes out this year, so that'll be a seller. It looks genuinely good. I mean, it's still going to be full of bullshit, but everything I saw got me like kind of excited. I was like, this seems like they've added a lot of new kept a little bit of old. Then the online stuff seemed neat.
I'm furious about this because like the last one, the Superstars, where they touted it as if it was a collection of all the old stuff, right? All the old boards, all the old games. And they added nothing. I don't think they made a single update to that thing to add more boards or games to it, which it was like,
no, and
that's
it was
what you
so
should be
limiting
doing.
too. Yeah, it was so
there's hardly
limiting.
anything in it.
Yep.
So now to bring out a new one right away, and then on top of that say, oh, here's a couple other boards from old games. It's like, oh my gosh, you guys, that was...
Right. Yeah, why did we... I don't feel
one.
like we needed 3... Well, I guess they've been very heavy in putting those out in other generations too, but like 3 over the course of this system seemed like a lot to me. We'll buy it for sure. I mean, we always have a fairly good time until, somebody rage quits or cries because they got dicked over by the random award system at the end. But
oh yeah, I wish there was a lever that you could switch that off.
Yeah. Because you're usually punished for being the best at the mini games and strategizing the best. The person who puts the most effort in to get the win is always the person who loses, almost every time.
Right.
So
because they landed on the most red spaces or something, or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that was a weird one. There's that Capcom collection that's coming out too with the
all the Marvel games.
All the Marvel games and the Punisher games. So you get one beat 'em up. I own the arcade 1-up, so I have most of these.
Yeah.
This one doesn't appeal to me, and I'm not a fighting guy, so the Punisher would be the one I'd want to play, which I already have. I'm sure that'll come out at the $30 price point, just like the last one did, which is totally worth it. So that was cool. I saw a lot of people online excited about that. Finally, it does exist. We got it closed with the gameplay trailer for Metroid Prime 4. It looked really good. A lot going on. I question how smoothly that's going to run frame rate wise because I've never seen the Switch be able to push that much action.
I don't know if they've... I guess, it's in the Switch show, so it's probably going to be on the Switch, but I don't know if it implied that it was specifically for the Switch. It's almost certainly going to be for the next thing, right?
They said 2025. I don't think there's a way that they won't have a Switch version of it. Yeah. I think it'll be a dual. I think it'll be the Twilight Princess of... Wait, Breath of the Wild? Yeah, Breath of the Wild. Not Twilight Princess. It'll be the Breath of the Wild. Well, Twilight Princess was that too, I guess. But I think that's what's going to happen just because so many people have been wanting it. I could be wrong, but
yeah.
I guess either way, I'm just happy that it finally exists and it seems to be far enough along in development at this point.
Yeah, it definitely looked sharper. And at the same time, it looked a lot like that remake that they did of Prime, right? So I feel like they kind of started with that.
Yeah, I wonder if they didn't just grab that engine and use that as the litmus test and then build upon it. You're probably right.
Because it didn't look like there was anything wildly different,
No, the only thing I noticed was it seemed like it was very heavy on, more intelligent enemies, or it almost felt like more like that Metroid Prime 3 vibe, where it was like it leaned more into what a Halo fighting the Covenant felt like, more than like the traditional world of the earlier games. And I could be wrong because it did kind of end with Samus being out in a big open environment, which would be cool to see. If there's I would love to see this one have sections that are just more open space, because they've always been very tunnel like,
Yeah.
Which I guess they kind of have to be to keep the core feel of like what a Metroid is. They're supposed to be maze like, but
it could be interesting for like a true open space, or at least a huge hub world, at least. That would be cool. Yeah.
It would be cool.
Yeah, that the one villain that they showed with a couple of Metroids just hanging out by him, that it's like, okay, this is cool.
Mm-hmm. And then the star and surprise of the show, I think everyone's pretty excited, is that Legend of Zelda, what's the name?
Echoes of Wisdom? Is that what it is?
Yeah, sounds right. And looks really cool. It looks like they took the art style and base engine for what was Link's Awakening remake, but then did away with the horrible like screen to screen shifting. I mean, that made sense for that. So now it's more like a open scrolling top down Zelda, but with that art style. And since Link is the one in peril off the get go, you get to play as Zelda for a change, which is neat. And then it kind of like fundamentally changes the way you get to play the game. And it's almost like they use that as almost the excuse to blend, you know, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, game breaking, choose your own path, create your own path into a traditional top down style of Zelda, Zelda game, which I think sounds awesome.
Yeah, that's the part really where cool. I'm really interested in see how they do that, because it can go one or two ways. I think you could do it where Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom especially, where it's build your own solution type thing.
Yep.
You have everything and the tools are there, but also you could just have I mean, they're not going to let you copy everything. There's going to be only specific things that you're going to be able to copy. And then are they just using that as the replacement of here's the tool for this dungeon,
right.
This is the table dungeon, I don't know.
Yeah, that very well could be. I mean, I have a little more faith that they'll make it more creative than that, but you never know. Yeah. I mean, you did see them using a lot of the same thing, right? Like, I don't know how many like bridges I saw made out of like beds, but yeah. Maybe they're only showing you early gameplay too. So I just think it's really cool because that was announced and it's going to be a pretty heavy hitter and it's coming out in September. Like how they kept a Zelda game under wraps like 3 months from release is wild to me.
It's amazing. Yeah.
It also explains why we didn't get DLC for Tears of the Kingdom, because they didn't want to have to step on this thing's toes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's part of it. I'm sure it's a different. I wonder if this is the team that did all those 3DS games, or all the DS ones. The Link Between Worlds is one of the best Zelda games. So if it's those guys doing it, then this is their new game since then, I'm pretty excited. I mean, Link's Awakening is fine, but I mean it was Link's Awakening, so
right. Yeah, and it was. I think the highlight of Link's Awakening remake was that really cool and unique art style that they gave it. So to see him give that a different, more expansive traditional Zelda gameplay, but keep that look, I think was a really good choice. I also am really pissed that they're doing an exclusive Switch Lite variant for it because it looks
at the end
good. I don't need it, but it's like, God, I think I have to buy it. I don't need it, but it looks so cool.
I know.
So we'll see.
To do that right at the end of the system too is like, oh, come on, guys.
Yeah. So we'll see if I buy that or not. If I do, it's going to be one of those things like I'm going to buy that. It's going to be new old stock and sit on the shelf but it's cheap enough, $200. That the thing will be worth like $350 in 5 years. And you can't find it anywhere. So
yeah,
we'll see. I might do it. Match my OLED Switch, the Zelda version.
Yeah. Yeah. Any
other nuggets you saw that like kind of jumped out at you?
Oh, let's see. Nothing that really made a huge impact, I guess. But yeah, I gotta say that's probably the best Nintendo Direct in many years, which is crazy that we're at the end of it. Yeah. This is where you should be expecting all the remakes and the ports and stuff.
Yeah, they really did a good job of like filling that what seemed to be void in the second half of this year for Nintendo. I mean, they probably would have been wise to bring some of this up sooner so that people didn't think like, okay, Tears of the Kingdom is, the swan song game. There's not really much big coming out. We're kind of done. Because I'm impressed. I'd be more impressed if I was an RPG guy, but I still think even not being one, I think this is a good last year to the Switch. I was surprised at how much stuff, though, they did announce that was just like coming 2025, even like from third parties and stuff. Because it's like, man, you'd think they'd be just getting as much out now. I mean, unless they're really not planning on launching the Switch successor until the holiday of 2025. But, everybody's projecting it's going to be that second quarter, first quarter.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I suppose if it's backwards compatible, does it matter?
No, definitely. Probably not. That was the one thing I was going to, I mean, it has to be backwards compatible, right? Like,
it'd be stupid not to.
Or are we going to see in 3 years where they're porting over Princess Peach Showtime and all this to the new system,
Well, just because it was on the last system doesn't mean they still won't port it, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
This is the new version, the enhanced deluxe. Yeah. I really hope it is backwards compatible. If it is, I'm buying that MIG Switch and dumper, and I'm just like loading that thing up with all my favorite games just so I have one card, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that would be handy. I'd like to not have to carry a bunch of cards with me that I can lose on the couch, or my son can lose.
And then you can eat all the ones that you have.
That's true. I hope they have the same bad taste in the next one. So.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, it was cool. It was nice to have something to be genuinely excited about. And I saw 2 to 3 things that I am genuinely fired up about in a year that I was fired up about nothing on any console. So,
and the fact that it's all relatively, I mean, sure, Metroid is next year, but I don't think anybody was expecting it next. I mean, not to,
no, I think
I really show gameplay,
Yeah, I really thought it wouldn't rear its head again until the next console was out. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we'll get the NES World Championships, we'll get Zelda, we'll roll right into Mario Party, we'll have all the other stuff coming around holiday.
It's a strong it's a strong holiday for them. It's crazy.
It really is. Yeah. I mean, there's stuff to put under the tree for sure.
Yeah.
And then basketball and Wii Sports for some reason. Who gives a shit?
How do you I'm sorry, but how do you not I think have that was like stuff in there?
Right.
Why are you updating sports?
Hey, did you buy this yet? We know a lot of you didn't buy it yet. Have you bought it yet? We're gonna give you basketball. You should buy it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, what about that Xbox event, like the Xbox showcase? Did you catch much of that?
Yeah, I watched it. That was the one that I was like, okay, they won this whole faux E3 thing.
Mm-hmm.
After I watched that, because I assumed Nintendo wouldn't be bringing anything.
The problem I think with Microsoft's though is that those things were still a long ways off for the most part. Like they didn't have anything that were like coming next month. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, granted, it was cool to see that they remembered that people liked Fable and Gears of War, but like maybe you just shouldn't let those things languish for years and years and years.
Yeah, it's just encouraging to see that their first party stuff is actually coming together now.
Sure.
Because I mean, they bought all those studios, and they've got nothing out of them for the most part. So it's good to see that they're actually like have projects with actual stuff being shown. And most of it was gameplay. There wasn't a lot of just video like they've done in the past.
Yeah, and it was nice to see some of those things we were hoping for, as far as they're standing, Phil Spencer standing by his whole day and date with Microsoft games on Game Pass. The fact that Call of Duty is going to come there. I mean, that's the only way I would ever get back into a Call of Duty game is if it was on Game Pass, because I'm not going to plunk the money down. So it's cool to see that. I do wonder what that's going to do to the Call of Duty market. I think a lot of people still play it on PC and PlayStation over Xbox. So I wonder what that feedback's going to be. That's going to be the real litmus test for them, I think. It's like
if they can really market it,
lives
people
on
aren't on Game Pass, and you can get the new Call of Duty for $1. Yeah,
right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, get your 1 month trial. I wonder what that game will look like though. If they'll have way more microtransaction-y shit in there to try and make up for that.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
So what was like the major stuff you were excited about from the Game Pass one?
The Indiana Jones one looks amazing. I'm pretty excited about that one. What else? That South of Midnight one looked pretty interesting. That kind of had like the Spider-Man kind of animation to it.
Yeah.
But in like a Cajun setting, kind of. Pretty excited about that. Fable, I'll play that. I'm ready for a new Fable.
And that's the 4th one?
Yeah, this will be Fable 4. I don't know if that's what they're naming it. Yeah, 360.
Yeah.
Middle of 360. What was the other one? There was... Oh, Perfect Dark looked really good. Surprisingly.
All right. I know I'm going back here. Can we talk for just a second about how dumb that fucking move from Nintendo is about the Nintendo Switch Online, where they're doing a dedicated N64 17 plus, and the 2 games that are coming to it are Perfect Dark and Turok. Like by today's standards, those are baby games. You know what I mean? Did they have to break that out for 20-some-year-old M-rated games? Come on, man.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
There's way worse stuff in your 99-cent store. Some anime game that you're downloading for demos off of for free, and there's no warnings on it.
Well, and they missed the obvious one. I was like, oh, we're getting Conkers, because that one's actually kind of filthy, but no. That's maybe we'll get it one day, but
maybe once Microsoft makes a new Conkers game, they'll be like, we gotta promote it on the Nintendo guys too, because I feel like that's the only reason why they
would do it.
Yeah, because they're trying to boost up the hype for the new Perfect Dark game.
Yeah, so the new one, this will be the first one in the series since that one launched on the 360. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
This has got...
That's ridiculous.
There's a lot of like... It looks fast, kind of like a Mirror's Edge.
Oh.
Kind of look to it.
Okay.
So I'm pretty excited about that.
Did the trailer lean into like multiplayer much, or was it more like single player?
I'm trying to remember. I want to say it was mostly story stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I don't think outside of the first one, I don't think multiplayer really was a major component to the last one, or at least it seemed like people weren't that into it.
Yeah. But yeah, they didn't, usually the Microsoft one was kind of like the, lately has been more of the indie showcase.
Sure.
Because that's what they had to do to fill out the roster, but there really wasn't any of that. It was big games after big games, I suppose they've bought enough big companies now to do that, but
I was going to say they needed that because they've been buying and showing nothing for it.
Yeah.
Essentially.
And how many updates too, and expansions, like Diablo and Starfield and, Fallout, all that stuff. Sea of Thieves, they're still doing that, it's constant updates to all that stuff too.
Yeah, Sea of Thieves is interesting right now because there's like so many new players because of the PlayStation 5 version, and then like so much shit is like glitched too. Like they've worked on patching most of it, but I played it again recently and like still some random stuff happens. Like you just like won't be able to put stuff from your personal inventory into the storage bins at all. Like it just doesn't recognize it. Or you'll like
that's kind of important.
Walk and then your skin glitches and stuff, and like you're a skeleton for some reason. It's really weird.
Well, that can happen. I mean, I've watched enough Pirates of the Caribbean to know that Did you walk in the
true.
moon?
Yes.
Maybe that was part of it.
That was probably part of it. Yeah. Yeah, it's cool to see what that game has turned into. Like, I kind of have gotten to the point where I've come full circle in that game, and I genuinely enjoy it now. Like, I think it. Like, I'm not gonna think like, it's not gonna be my everyday game, but like, I really have fun when I jump in there at this point.
So what drives you? Because to me, that was it. It was fun to me, but there was no progression to me. So like that's the part that I didn't feel like I was gaining anything. But now like the stuff that you're doing is rewarding enough, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I have fun with it. Like I do a lot of gold hoarders stuff, so it's mostly just like how big of a run can we get in, like in a session one night. Because like I'll usually jump on with my buddy Tom, and we'll go for like 3 to 4 hours. It's just like how much can we crank out, and that's kind of the fun. And then like sometimes you'll pick up the side treasure things that you'll pick up off a skeleton while you're doing another mission. Again, cat, go away. So yeah, that's kind of been my motivator, but I don't spend any of my money either. Like I've got, I don't know, I got like 2 million gold, but it's just fun to like get those runs. And like the last time we did it, it was awesome because we had this huge haul, and then randos like spotted us because they were gold hoarders at the same level we were, so we're visible on their map. And we spent like the last 40 minutes just like trying to outrun them and like lose them and like be able to offload and get our gold. And we finally pulled it off, and it was just like, oh man, we earned that one, so that's always fun.
Yeah, that's pretty rewarding.
Just the randomness. But yeah, there isn't a deep loop. I think it's just if you got somebody that's pretty good at playing it and just sitting there BSing and having fun. I kind of get into like the the treasure hunt maps. Like I hated it at first. I was like, this really sucks. Like I just have to like try and suss out where this treasure chest is and like dig it up. But I've gotten good at it now, so I think that helps. And I'm starting to learn where more islands are.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose knowing the map helps out a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, my buddy knows like where everything is. Like he'll see like, 1/3 of a shape on like those like partial maps where you have to collect enough pieces. And he'll be like, I know that island. Like, we're going there. I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, all right, let's do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
So that's fun. And then it was Pride Month, so I had to put the Pride flag up.
The flag's up. Yeah.
Ownership. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah. Also, you ready for this? World of Warcraft. Yep. New expansion for World of Warcraft.
Say. Yeah, I've heard that's pretty close to coming out, right? I think.
Yeah.
I just want them to say that World of Warcraft subscriptions are included in Game Pass, and then I will play it. That's all I really want, because I don't hate World of Warcraft, but I don't play it enough to justify putting money into it. And I know that you can grind and get gold now to pay for your monthly subscription, but that requires more time per month than I'm willing to give that. So
yeah, it's kind of like a battle pass situation now. You're saying like basically you can pay once and keep going.
Yeah, it's theoretically possible as long as you can grind enough. But I'd love to see some of the other expansions, but that last time I installed it and started playing it, I was just like, no, because it's free to like level 19 now. And like I mean, it's like level 8, and I was like, I'm done with this.
Yeah, I mean, between those two, I think at least have some games on the horizon that look pretty good. So, and
yeah.
PlayStation has not have anything to show me. So
no, yeah, they've continued their drought of why do we own this? Yeah. Well, I suppose we could talk about. We actually got together and saw each other in person for the first time in a few months since the Midwest Gaming Classic, at least.
Yeah.
Went down to our buddy CJ's place, Replay Games in downtown Fargo. They are shutting down for good as of the 23rd of this month. So we thought we'd go pay him a visit, met up with a few friends down there. Place is a really cool business. So for those not familiar, it's basically collection of board games and video game consoles and arcade games and PCs, and you just kind of go in there as a free play arcade or game place and pay by the hour, play whatever you want, VR, all that. Kind of sad to see it go, but it was a good time. I got roped into playing an awful game thanks to Andy, though.
Well, I mean, this huge collection that he has, and we ended up playing Fusion Frenzy for Xbox because we're having a party, and it's a party game, and the computer on easy basically, I think, shut us all three down most of the time.
It was such bullshit. Half those games were bullshit too. Like, it's just such a crappy game. It really sucks. There's like 30 mini games and 3 of them are fun.
Yeah, and a lot of them are derivative of other ones too, where
right.
The same could be said for Mario Party, but at least they put a coat of paint on everything that makes it feel so much different. Where this doesn't.
This feels like a collection of those like BK games that you just like rotate through.
Yeah.
Like a little bit of like, because it's hard to even be competitive with it. It's like when everything's like a 2-minute round. Maybe there was some other modes we could have played where it's just like, challenge mode and it's over like however many random games pop up. But yeah, it's a lot of like half-baked ideas wrapped into a pretty crappy shell.
Yeah. None of them really controlled that well either, because there are a decent amount that have direct control, and yeah, it was not amazing.
Yeah, at some point we just stopped playing altogether because it just wasn't worth it. We're just sitting there BSing. So
yeah.
I got to be a late night.
Yeah, headed over to your house afterward.
Oh yes,
so I got to see the garage arcade.
Yes, were you impressed? Was it?
Oh man, I am.
Made it up to be.
Yes, I'm thoroughly impressed. Like the whole experience, like you should have. I felt like I had to pay after.
I take sexual favors.
That's what that couch is in there for. Oh.
Yeah, that's right. I'll get an air mattress in there. That'll be the next enhancement.
I don't know. A skee ball table might be fun.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
I don't think you could hold my weight.
Yeah, that was, yeah. I'm really impressed that you really decorate it really well too. I mean, between the things that you picked up and the stuff that you've collected over the number of years, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, thanks. I was glad you got to see it in like its newest state, and it was like actually clean then. Now it is an absolute disaster because we're heading on family vacation for a week next week and going camping. So I've like staged all our camping gear in there. Plus I bought a trailer that I've been fixing up to haul some of that stuff. So that's in there. It just looks like a dumpster fire at the moment, but that's a problem for us getting back from vacation. So.
Yeah.
But I sometime I will have to find, like, maybe in the fall when the weather's not so bad, like just do like a random Friday or Saturday night and just have everybody over and just fill that place up.
Yep. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Make some pizza, or I guess I can get Domino's. It's right down the street.
I'll get the Domino's. You know how that goes.
Oh, I don't know if I trust you to get Domino's. I'd have like 500 pizzas left over.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was fun to get out. Like I haven't been out playing to do those. MGC was like the last thing even, and that's kind of a one-off thing. So
yeah, I'm kind of the same. I mean, aside from the podcast, like I don't get out to go do stuff without my kids and with friends that often anymore. There's just no freaking time. So.
Yeah. Nope.
And now we won't have replay to go to, so that's a bummer.
Yeah. And that it's yeah. It sucks that there's not like a way to make it keep going, through sell the business, but that's understandable how that stuff goes.
It was fun to get out there one last time though. And
we
used to do a lot of gaming meetups there and it was fun. So
yeah.
I'm sure CJ will find something good.
Oh yeah.
and probably less draining of his time.
Yeah. Something he can focus on, or, not be there 24/7.
Yeah, that's the tough part when you're a small business owner. It's
Yep.
you eat, sleep, and breathe that thing. So.
Yep. I went to another game store.
Oh?
Yeah. Went to Brainerd this last weekend. Haven't been up there for a long time. And they have a play-in trade there. And if anybody, I don't know if this was a Midwest thing. It used to be a chain.
Yeah, they used to have
All
one in
over.
St. Cloud too.
Mm-hmm.
Like connected to a Hollywood Video.
Yeah. And it was, I don't know if it's just Midwest or it was all over, but it was a pretty big chain of game stores. And they all went bankrupt and gone for, they've been gone for over a decade now, it seems like. So, but this one guy in Brainerd, he still has it. And I don't know how the franchise stuff works because he still has it under the same like branding and
is that
everything.
the one that was like, it's like kind of on the edge of town and like a little like strip mall thing? Is that the one I'm thinking of? Okay.
Yep.
And he used to have a bunch of like limited run stuff like at one point in there. Yep. Okay. Yep. I know the store.
So I think he changed owners now. And they've moved it downtown.
Oh.
Which downtown it's kind of weird in Brainerd, but because it's pretty out of the way. Brainerd, when you think of Brainerd is not the place where all the action's at anymore. It's over in Baxter,
no.
But
you know the city traffic though, I suppose. But yeah, you're right. Most of the shopping is out in Baxter.
Yep. But I checked it out. It's kind of like in a house converted into some sort of shop.
Weird.
And he's got an arcade in there now. He has a pay for, he's like, we have a special $8 for 15 minutes or something. It was like, oh, okay.
What?
But it was kind of weird. But I just kind of popped in there and looked, and they had some kind of neat stuff, but I don't know. It's just cool that they're doing a lot of other stuff because there's a lot of toys stuff in there. And the crazy part is he has like mannequins up in front of just like straight up like outfits from a whole bunch of 80s movies.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's like the whole Ghostbusters thing. There's Freddy Krueger. It's crazy.
Okay.
The Rocketeer, for whatever reasons, they're hanging out there.
That's a deep cut. Yeah.
But yeah, just kind of cool to see like somebody who's like into it for the nerdiness and the culture of that to just have stuff that doesn't really, it contributes to the vibe, but it doesn't really necessarily make you money, So it's kind of cool that for him to just have like a museum kind of over there where.
I suppose he's doing that mostly to just pull in like normies, right? Who are like, wouldn't go there for the games. And like, I remember the 80s,
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose. The one guy, the guy that was working there, he was saying that Freddy Krueger, what's his name, who plays him? I can't think of his name.
Oh.
Robert Englund? Yeah.
Sounds right.
His like nephew or something is from around there, and he's in there all the time.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, which is pretty weird. But yeah, it's kind of cramped. It was a little hot in there, obviously with arcades running now too. So it's a much different experience than like a strip mall on that side to the other side of town.
Right.
But also kind of more interesting the way they have it set up now too.
So I'm going to be camping like right north of there, and then we're going to go in at least to Baxter at some point. Is it worth me going out of my way to stop there or not really?
I think so. It's got some cool stuff in there. I mean, they have a whole room of like turtle stuff, and there's a lot of toy stuff in there.
So it's almost kind of like that one in Omaha.
Yeah. Yep.
Pop culture exchange, that sort of vibe.
Yep.
Nice.
I'm so out of the loop that I hardly even look at games anymore to buy, which is kind of weird. Yeah. But they had one really weird one. They had a Sega game in there, but it looked like a Chinese one, not like it wasn't Japanese. It was like Taiwan, those ripoffs.
Oh, okay.
And it was a Ninja Turtles game. And I forget what the name of it was on there, but I was like, is this a port of Hyperstone Heist or what? And he's like, no, it's like a port of something else. So
That's wild.
Yeah. Kind of.
How did that end up there of all places?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, that's cool. I mean, I remember the old location, but yeah, maybe I'll have to check it out. Like, how far out of the way is it to get to like downtown Brainerd from like the Baxter area? Is it like 15 minutes or?
It's a little ways. Do you know where that like white water tower is there? It kind of looks like a castle.
Yeah, vaguely.
That's where you turn, and that's where it's all downtown there.
Okay.
Okay. But yeah, you got to follow the main road for a while through Brainerd. Okay. And there's some other cool stuff down there. There's a few board game shops. There's a pizza arcade thing there. We didn't get to go to that, but there's another one of those things there.
Well, maybe I'll check it out because we weren't planning on going past. We were just going to go in far enough to stop at that Jack Pine Brewery because that place is amazing. And then we were going to head back. So maybe I'll convince the fam to keep going.
Yeah, it's worth stopping for a few minutes just to see the front area. It's kind of got some cool stuff. And then I want to bring up the mall there. I don't know.
Malls these days could be a mixed bag. I think I saw that mall in a Dead Mall series that a guy's doing like the Midwest now.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I kind of want to watch that. That mall is really weird because it's just one long strip. It's basically a strip mall, but it's like indoor. It's really weird. But I don't know if this is just a Midwest thing or a Minnesota thing that they're or like. Have you, or up in Fargo, do they do carnival shit in the mall parking lots now?
No, I've never heard of that.
Okay.
Like
so
tents set up or what?
So like 3 different towns in Minnesota, I've seen this happen where they just randomly have the whole carnival, like fair, rides, all the food, a whole bunch of like, it's all there in the parking lot of a mall. Just running on all weekend long.
Wild. I feel like that's stuff I used to see when I was a kid because we'd have like those small town ones that it wouldn't be like the county fair, but they would just pass through and like find an open parking lot or like abandoned lot in your town and just like pop up. But it's weird to me that that's still happening.
Yeah. So they had it running at the mall there, and there's a board game shop in the mall that I wanted to go to check out. And we stopped there. Did not take the kids over to the fair stuff because I just didn't want to deal with that. It was raining pretty good, but there was there was a surprisingly amount of people in the rain at this kind of crappy, carnival. But I mean, they had the full size ride, like the zipper thing, where they do the.
Sure.
Yeah, they had one of those there, the Ferris wheel. It wasn't just the little tiny things.
The last thing you want to do, though, is be walking around in a parking lot at a fair in the rain. Because those things like have generators and wires laying all. I mean, that's exactly. You're just asking to get fucking taken out.
Yep. Yeah, they're not worried about covering the conduit on that stuff.
Hell no. Yeah.
But surprisingly, even when there was a surprisingly amount of people at this carnival in the mall parking lot, there was still nobody in the mall. Like, I would think that would be the whole point is to have people, be there when it's raining to be like, oh, well, let's just go in the mall. There's still nobody in
there. Yeah. Is the mall basically just like pretty desolate? Do they have any anchors left or?
There's a Dunham Sports, which is like in every mall now. I don't know why they like malls so much, but, other than that, I think Joanne Fabrics was like the other big thing.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a guy, I can't remember his channel name, but he does Dead Mall series, and he's been doing specifically Upper Midwest. So he did a bunch of cities area stuff. And then I watched one where he crossed over and he started going through like South Dakota. He was actually in Watertown pretty recently too. The episode aired recently, but it was shot like last year. I suppose he just does these trips and like films a bunch of malls, and it's pretty wild to see how just completely abandoned they are. And like the small town ones are the coolest because they'll still be like 70% capacity, but it's all just like weird shit, right? Like thrift stores and like secondhand here and there, and then just a random craft store. I don't know.
There was one store in here where it was a lady who did custom blankets. And it was the blankets where you just buy the fabric and then cut up the ends and just tie the two together. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
You just cut up the edges and you tie.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That was the entire store. She was selling these for like $40 a pop for these blankets.
What did you? She get paid like $8 a knot or what? I mean, that's like 15 minutes worth of work to make one of those things.
Right.
I think my favorite dead mall, and I don't know if it's got to be condemned. I think it got condemned and it's been condemned for a while. But in Valley City actually, tiny town in North Dakota, not far from Fargo here. Like, I don't know how many thousand people, but they had a tiny mall. That mall went under, and then for a period of time, they converted it all to a dollar store, and it was the 99 center. So then it was just like this massive sprawling dollar store with like different old storefronts being like, you know, like this is the kitchen 99-cent stuff. This is like clothing. It was so freaking cool. You just like wandered around for days in there. It was all cheap garbage, but it was cool.
Yeah. It must be. There's enough like empty stuff still in areas that it's like you would think you would still want to just take whatever money you can get to fill it out, right?
Right.
But there must be some tax off or write-off like threshold that doesn't make sense to do that. I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't get what's up with the mall in Fargo here that just more or less thrives like for what a mall is. I mean, I would say it's kind of like got to the point where it's like a third like boutique local stores now and not so much chain stuff. But you know, you compare that to the one in Grand Forks, which is another large city in North Dakota, directly north of us, and that thing is dead, like 100% dead. It's got a Shields in it. It's got a food court with like one thing and a pet store, and that's, I mean,
I think the growth of Fargo probably outpaced the growth of, or the decline of the mall.
Yeah,
because I mean, normally if Fargo was that size when malls were big, they would have built maybe two of them.
Way bigger. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And I suppose it depends too. I mean, it's got to come down some of it down to like property management and ownership. Like they must actively work to like try and make it a good, because I mean, for Christ's sake, we're getting a new anchor store. Like that shouldn't even be possible.
Right.
I mean, Herberger's went out of business and like it sat vacant for 3 years and they found a new anchor. Like, I don't know how that works. Like every department store seems to be going under, but that mall is adding one, which,
yeah, that's kind of nuts. Yeah.
So at least my, you know, teenage or almost teenage daughter now gets the mall experience of getting to like go wander there and cafe. I mean, that's the dream, right? That's what malls are made for.
The Roger Maris Museum.
Yep, my dog's mortal enemy. Have I ever told you that?
No.
So there's this park next to my house, Lindenwood Park, and then at the entrance of it, there's a memorial to. This isn't part of his museum, which is in the mall. But there's a memorial, like commemorative memorial thing with a Roger Maris, like big framed photo, and then like, you know, some words and stuff, like a big concrete thing. My dog hates it. He like will walk by every time he looks over, sees Roger Maris, jump scares himself, and then just loses his shit and starts like barking at him like he's gonna like kill Roger Maris. And it's happened consistently since he was just a tiny puppy. And every time we just laugh our asses off. It's so great. He's such a dumb shit dog.
That's hilarious. Huh. Must be just like the face he's making on the photo or something. Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, and I think it's the fact that it's like appropriate adult man size, but then it's just like at the level that he's at, you know, because it sits, I don't know, it's lower to the ground, you know. But it's so funny. He just gets so defensive and just an idiot.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, that's my my adventure out of the house seen things, my sites that I.
Did you guys just go do something for the weekend, or did you have something you had to be in the area for?
We had to make a Costco trip. That's pretty much how it went.
How far is it to Brainerd for you guys?
It's about an hour and a half or so.
Okay, so maybe it's really the same.
Yeah, it's about the same distance. I want to say it's like 5 miles difference or something like that.
Okay, nice. Did you buy lots of bulk items then too?
Oh yeah, Costco is not getting cheaper. They did have Princess Peach there for $40, so I picked that up.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's
not bad.
Hey, the hot dogs at least are staying the same price. The hot dog combos.
Mm-hmm.
You got that. Yeah. Well, I wanted to touch quickly on just like a random thing that I read, and that's that the Olympic Committee has decided that they're going to bring in esports into the Olympics. And it's almost like they're going to do, it sounds like that it's not going to be maybe folded traditionally into what we think of as the Olympics in the summer and winter games sort of aspect. It seems like they're going to do multi-event structure. Like it'll almost be like a e-gaming league. That's kind of how I understood it. I don't know. There's not much to talk about there. I just thought it was interesting that it got to the point where the Olympics are like recognizing it as an actual quote sport. So,
right. The NASCAR people have to be pissed. They got passed.
Well, maybe they'll allow NASCAR, whatever, 99 Classic as one of the games that they will play in the esports leagues.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder how that works. Like, is it like, most of the like swimming sports, it's like whatever the breaststroke and the backstroke and all this stuff. Is it like going to be that for different games, or it's just like, this is Fortnite, this is Valorant, this is League of Legends?
Yeah. You'd think it'd have to do with like kind of the standard set, right? Like they're going to do League of Legends, they're going to do Fortnite, they're going to do Rocket League. You would think like that's kind of what they're going to have to stick to. I think the interesting thing is like the funding thing, right? Like, because the Olympics basically works off of like getting sponsorship deals and like having those teams and those people do ads and get those sponsorship dollars in. So I just wonder like how lucrative that can be to sustain that.
Yeah.
Will it be too much of a drain on the Olympic Committee to justify its existence long term? Because it's everyone talks about how none of those esports leagues are profitable,
right? So. And yeah, is it enough of a draw to get the professionals in there, to play it?
Yeah, and you get Nike making like gear and like chairs and like gaming, like I don't know what's gonna happen there. You get Logitech sponsors and official Olympic mouse of the esports games. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be good. I just wish they just like did it like the old Mario Championship, where it's just like we pick the games, you don't know what they are, type of thing. We tell you the rules, go.
Yeah, that would be kind of neat.
That's what I want to see, because that's like
at least if that was one.
How good a video game are you? Yeah.
I mean, you would think like Nintendo would be clamoring to partner up with them. Like if there was one company like outside of like what you consider traditional esports, if there's one company who would try to like do the Olympic thing, it feels like Nintendo. But I don't know if that would actually happen. Maybe they'll push for Splatoon, Because I mean,
Mario
as
Party.
Far as Japan goes, like, oh god, could you imagine? Could you imagine gold medals being won and lost by like you got your ass kicked the most? Here's 3 stars. You know what I mean? It would be the most pointless gold medal in history. It's like winning by disqualification because the top 5 people all fucking failed to hand off the baton.
Yeah, I wonder. That will be interesting, I guess.
Yeah, I'll be curious on more details. Right now, it was just kind of a vague announcement of like we're working on this, but I don't know. Good for gaming. I mean, and it gives it gives kids, that are into it, or, because we've now got the middle school and high school programs.
Mm-hmm.
We got colleges that will sponsor and bring on teams. So at least it gives them like another legitimate avenue. Obviously, there's the whole professional stuff too, but getting into an Olympic level is pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, when they're probably making more money than, most of these other professionals in these, at least in Olympic sports, there's probably not a lot of money in most of those categories. So
yeah, you got to wonder some of those people that are like super dedicated to those niche sports. And it's just like, I've dedicated the past 12 years of my life to being like an Olympic deadlifter. It's like, okay, well, you're not getting rich. And then what are you doing after that?
Right.
Besides like sitting with like pounds of excess skin because you don't like carb load and like eat 40 chicken breasts a day. And yeah.
And the guy who wins the gold medal for curling just showed up to the curling club every week and knocked a few back with the boys and he ends up on the team. So
isn't it weird that they'll allow curling, but bowling doesn't make it into the Olympics?
They don't have
both
bowling?
Essentially this. I don't know. Maybe they.
I don't.
I'm talking about my ass.
Yeah,
they're both just like lazy, drunken dad afternoon sports, as far as I'm concerned. You know what I mean? And there's always like a team from Minnesota that makes it in the curling one.
Yeah, because it's so the spot that you can actually like even practice it around here.
Yeah, it's funny. Well, what do you got with My Hero Academia? Have you been getting into this?
Yeah, my kids started watching it. And now it's summer, so if the kids are watching it, then I'm kind of watching it. So
sure.
But getting into that, and yeah, it's not too bad. I don't know if you ever seen any of it or
just bits and pieces. Isn't it kind of like, it's not like dark, but it's a little more mature, isn't it? Or
a little bit,
like,
yeah.
Compared to like a Dragon Ball or something. Like,
yeah.
More serious.
Yeah, there's heavier tones in it.
Sure.
A lot of like what it actually means to be a hero, like just because you're like glorified as a hero, does that mean you're actually a hero? Or if you're paid to be a hero, are you actually a hero? And all that. But
sure.
Yeah, it's about a school. Kids go to school to be heroes. They all have weird superpowers, and it's got some good animation for action, and it's reasonably funny. And yeah, I'm liking it. My kids like it quite a bit. Yeah,
I've only ever seen it like in passing a few times. It seems like a well done anime.
Mm-hmm. It moves fast, where like Dragon Ball, that type of stuff, where they'll just go so slow.
Yeah,
and they'll just talk and talk and talk. This moves incredibly fast. There'll be a big fight that they lead up to, and it's done in one episode, and then they move on to the next thing.
Nice. That's kind of nice that it values your time like that. So you're not like stuck in like a series or a saga. And
yep.
That gets old and exhausting.
Yep. But now that they got obsessed with that, we picked up some of the video games, and they've been playing that, which are just fighting games, basically, just like all of these are. But they're it's fun to button mash on those, just to see what happens in those type of games. That's why I like all those Dragon Ball games where it was just like, I have no idea what to do or how to play this game. But if you got something cool to go off, it felt awesome, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of cool. And what does that stream on?
Hulu we're watching on, so with ads now, so that kind of sucks, but
yeah. Hulu still has that crappy volume jump in ads too, which I don't understand, because they passed that legislation that said you had to balance it. Has it not gone into effect yet?
The worst thing I hate about Hulu is where they'll spend 15 seconds of your ad time asking you which ad you want to watch. Like, which one would you like to watch? It's like, at this point, you wasted 15 seconds of mine. I wish you would have picked one and we'd be halfway through it.
Right. Yeah, because they're both awful. It's like, which version of shit do you want?
Yeah, it's all the same brand too. So
right.
It's not
100%. Yeah.
Ads are out of, I don't I'm getting fed up with ads. I was watching on the baseball website, MLB.com. They have like a little tracker of like what's going on in the game. Something cool happens, they'll upload the clip of what play. So I wanted to watch this one. It's 22 seconds long. I click the button, ad pops up. Okay, this is how this works. You get one ad, you watch the thing. First one's done. It goes to another ad, and then I see up in the corner playing 2 of 8 ads for 22 seconds. These are 30-second.
Lord. That's awful. I was just going to bitch about how bad Netflix was, but that's worse. The Netflix thing is pissing me off because they added that with ads version, which should be Netflix with ads. But more and more we're running into, you can't watch this because you have ad subscription. Like, fuck you. Yep. The fact that I can't watch AMC stuff or certain movies, that's bullshit.
That was not what
they for the same platform.
Yeah, that was not what they came out with when they pushed this.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's because of the agreements they have with certain studios where they're like, no, we let you run our product and you pay us a fee. You don't get them to also monetize it and not cut us in.
But
which
also,
I get.
Also, this is why they
let us just fucking watch it. Yeah.
And the ad stuff on Netflix is actually probably one of the best in the industry because sometimes you don't get an ad at all. Sometimes it's like one randomly somewhere, they're pretty light on ads overall, but that's what we ran into.
Yeah. Greedy bastards. Well, are we at staff picks time?
Mm-hmm. What do you got?
Come up with one. I got nothing. I'm going to think of one. Will you do one?
Okay. Marvel Midnight Suns came up for free on the Epic Store. So I downloaded that, popped in there. It's the developers of Civilization, which I'm a longtime fan of that series, which I guess 7 is coming now too. That'll be another time sink. But this one I just kind of passed over because I think it was kind of mixed reviews, and then it dropped in price so fast that I was like, ooh, that usually means not a good thing with games.
Or that you're published by Ubisoft. Either way.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I even have a sealed copy on Xbox that I'm like, I'll get to it sometime. But I don't know why now that it's on free for Epic, it's easier to download. I just play it. And yeah, I've kind of gotten a little obsessed with that game. Because it is very much that one more turn, one more thing, one more day. Really? It's not what I expected at all. I thought it would be more of a tactics, and it sort of is. A lot of it does have to do with where you're positioning your units, but it's a card game that turns into attacks. Just kind of like the Metal Slug thing that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Where they're all on a platform, but you're choosing your attack to do. And there's some things in the environment that you can use to damage. I'm having fun with the core gameplay quite a bit. And then on the other side of that, once you finish a mission, you're in like this old abbey or church or whatever. And this is where you like your dorms with all these other Marvel heroes, right? And it kind of turns into a Persona style thing where you're having hangouts with all these different guys and like talking to them and raising your friendship with them and gaining bonuses and stuff like that. So it's very much like a story-based relationship sim with all of these weird, like not a lot of these, they're not the main Marvel guys. There's some of them in there, but it's interesting. I was kind of surprised that I would say half of the game is that you're just kind of, and then there's a huge map that you wander around and try and find secrets and pick up things too. So it's There's a lot more to it.
Different than what I thought it was based on like the trailer I watched.
Right.
That's cool.
Yeah, and to have that like strategy thing, and then also there's so much more. It's kind of got a lot of that XCOM stuff where it's like, oh, you've earned another like thing that you can build that, you know, makes another meter go up a little bit better, or upgrades cards better, or makes your friendship better with this person. And there's a lot of meters that are always going to be like one step away from getting the next thing. So it's really hard to find a spot to be like, okay, I'm done for the night, you know?
Sure. Yeah. Next thing you know, it's 2:30 in the morning and you're screwed for the next day.
Right. It's definitely been some two in the morning things happening here. But yeah, I was kind of surprised, you know, just I figured the developer of XCOM and Civ would be very bland and like very strategic. I'm not, but this is, I'm working on, you know, getting Blade and Captain Marvel to get hooked up. They're showing interest in each other and, you know, they're kind of like shy and they don't really want to talk to each other, but there's some tension between these guys. So I'm kind of facilitating this relationship there.
Can Captain Marvel be turned into vampire, or is that not possible?
Ooh, But then Blade would have to kill her.
I guess that's true. I mean, he could make an exception.
Yeah. There was one pretty long. There's so much writing and voice work in this game too. Like everything is voiced. It's crazy. Every conversation, every hangout you're doing. I had like a pretty long conversation about how Blade likes Buffy the Vampire Slayer. You know, because obviously it's the same.
That adds up.
Same thing, but you know.
Wild. Well, I guess I don't know what I have for a staff pick. Have you tried that new limited time coconut Dr. Pepper?
Coconut Dr. Pepper? No, I have not seen this.
It's pretty good. I'd say it's worth grabbing if you can find it. It seems increasingly hard to find.
Huh.
But if you like the flavor of coconut and the other 23 flavors that are in Dr. Pepper, then this might be for you.
Why do they keep messing with Dr. Pepper? I've noticed they've been messing with Dr. Pepper a lot lately. Yeah,
well, apparently Dr. Pepper is doing very well. Like Dr. Pepper now is the number 2 soda in the United States. It has dethroned Pepsi, which good because Pepsi's just flat, nasty Coke. You should drink Coke like a real American. But if you're not going to have Coke, Dr. Pepper is the next best thing. So, but yeah, they're like, I don't know. I feel like you go to the grocery store and there's like 7 flavors of Dr. Pepper because there's like the Dr. Pepper cream soda, Dr. Pepper with cherry, Dr. Pepper, this coconut thing. There's a few others
strawberry
too.
Cream. Yeah.
Yes. And not to mention like then you get into the diet and the zero versions of everything.
Yep.
I think what it is it's like that same Bud Light strategy, right? Where it's like Bud Light has like 85 bottle variation sizes so that they can maximize storefront space. And I'm guessing
push everybody else.
Well, if you carry this one, you have to carry all the other flavors we have. So
yeah. I like Dr.
Pretty
Pepper.
Good. I mean, I don't drink much. As I was just gonna say, I don't drink much soda anymore. As I drank a Dr. Pepper on the the camera tonight, but it is a good occasional soda. So yeah. These days, I'm more of a green tea drinker.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why. I think after that time that like I had that weird heart rhythm thing, and the guy's like, "How much caffeine do you drink?" I've just kind of been like, "Okay, maybe I don't need pop." So.
I guess I have to hit that too at some point.
I
don't know if I could do tea. Yeah, I don't know if I could do tea, but
do you still do like are you still like a pretty regular like energy drinker?
Yeah.
But do you drink coffee?
No.
Okay. So I drink 2 cups of coffee every day. So that probably evens out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, especially like depending on the coffee too, that can change how much caffeine content is in every coffee too, you know?
So I'm just gonna go off on a tangent here. This has nothing to do with staff picks anymore, but like I just recently learned about that Zyn stuff. Have you seen this? Where it's like a Swedish nicotine product. It's like a pouch.
Oh,
it doesn't contain any tobacco.
It's like really popular over there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm really desperately wanting to try that. After being hopelessly addicted to chewing tobacco in my early 20s, the thought of getting a nicotine fix and not getting cancer seems intriguing, but also a very slippery slope. So,
yeah. What is like the active ingredient in it then? Is it just?
I think it's just the nicotine hit. Yeah. Because they sell like different doses. I mean, because nicotine is not great for you in general. But I don't know.
Huh.
I was talking about it. My wife's like, I don't think you need that. You have other vices that you dabble with. Like, we don't need to throw nicotine in the mix. It's like, come on, live a little. I'm probably gonna buy some on my I walked past I walked into a gas station yesterday, and they had like a big sign for it, and like $5 a thing. I was like, oh god, I should just get some, but I didn't yet. Maybe that will be. I'll report back. Maybe that will be the staff pick. We'll dethrone Dr. Pepper. Next episode, everybody. Next episode.
If you're having a good time with us at Weekend Rental, I think you might enjoy all the great geeky stuff found on the Geekade Podcast Network. They've got podcasts about games, music, movies, and more. Plus, if you order off their secret menu, also known as the Geekade Patreon, you just might find an exclusive movie podcast hosted by Ryan and myself. Check it out over at geekade.com. And hey, if you'd like to turn Weekend Rental into a true multimedia experience, our YouTube and Twitch channels might just be for you.
All right. So the Weekend Rental, for anyone who doesn't know, it's a game we play for a given system each episode. We put some time into it and give our thoughts as to whether we would personally buy, rent, or burn said game. We went with the Liquid Kids for the good old PC Engine, but Turbografx 16 over here in the US. I don't know that this got an actual PC Engine version, I think, or Turbografx version. I think it was PC Engine only.
Mm-hmm.
Little bit of an overview. It's a arcade-based action platformer from Taito in the vein of the Bubble Bobble Rainbow Islands world. But it's side scrolling, and it's kind of cool. It's not a single screen game like the other ones we mentioned from Taito. So yeah, I don't know. What are your initial thoughts on it?
Yeah, you're a squat little character, kind of like Bub and Bob. Same type of looking guy.
Are you officially a platypus? Is that?
I think that's what it was. I think that's what we came up with. And yeah, you're throwing balls of water that look just like the Bust a Move balls.
Because if you're a Liquid Kid, that's what you throw is water.
Yep. And enemies, it's a nice, cute platformer. Colors like crazy. Very like, I would say, hard outline on everything. So it's very, it pops pretty well. And then you just have like demon spawn from hell that come through these hell portals.
Literal hell portals, like firing holes, just like splot up and craps enemies out on you. It's weird.
Yeah, I don't know where they came up with that. Where that was the idea for this, but yeah, that's how they spawn enemies in, and you just hit them with water. That's pretty much it. It's not that hard. It's points based. A lot of everything kind of is just grabbing different little knickknacks that add points. Because it's an arcade game, but
arcade roots. Yep. Yeah, I think that's the thing that's striking to me with this is just like this is one of those games that really showcases the Turbografx hardware because like it's got great color, it's got cool level design. But yeah, I think the thing that hampers it, like what they could have like at least ported to and turned into like an actual, cool, relaxing, in the vein of Mario sort of platformer is that, this port, I assume I've never played the arcade game, is I think pretty true to the arcade. So it is a very unforgiving game. Once you get past like the cutesy visuals and stuff, like it's those hell portals are never ending. It's there to get your quarters. So, it's just one of those games where you're having a good time, everything's visually striking and engaging, but it's also just kind of ruthless in the way that enemies are going to endlessly spawn. So you just have to keep moving. And that's always a little bit of a bummer for me in platforming games of that nature, where it's just like, God, if you'd have just tweaked that. Because that's one of my biggest pet peeves in any platforming game is just like endless enemy spawn. And this game gets kind of nuts with it. But it's not.
Yeah.
It's not insurmountable. For what is an arcade game, it's pretty manageable. I mean, you can get through it if you're careful. It's just a little more aggressive in the spawning of enemies than I'd like.
Yeah, and I think that my biggest problem with that, I mean, piggyback off that is, it is what it is with the arcade stuff. The levels, the length of them vary quite a bit, and then the difficulty definitely ramps up. But just the spawning of the character of the enemies, they don't seem designed. I guess that's the best way I could put it. It just seems like they're just dumping things in random spots.
Sure.
Which is weird because the rest of, there's some things like there's a water wheel early on in the game where you have to like throw water over the water wheel to fly yourself. So there's like some physics kind of like thought to put into this type of stuff. And then there's just portals where they're just dumping things randomly. Sometimes they're not even like, there's not even a way that I'm not sure how they could have hurt you in the first place. I don't know. They're not randomly dumped. I mean, I don't think they're picking random spots to dump them, but sometimes it feels like it. I don't know.
Yeah, they definitely didn't put the thought into enemy spawn as far as like level design overall. It's like they built a level and they're like, well, we got to throw some enemies in it where like, say like a Mario or to a lesser extent Sonic will have like this bad guy spawns on this location or is holding to this location so that if I time it and jump it just right, like I can get to another area or a shortcut or there's none of that level of detail into that, which I would second that. I do think like maybe those hell portals like spawn within like a certain area of a level, but I think
you think it is random? It might
probably
be
pretty random. I mean, they definitely seem like certain enemies definitely seem to spawn only in certain areas of a level. But like, I wonder if it's consistent every time because it would seem like if we clipped out of an area a little bit and then went back, like that portal would come back, but it wasn't always spawning in the exact same spot.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and then the difficulty isn't necessarily design difficulty. It's just kind of like we're just dumping a shit ton of guys on you that you can't really necessarily throw fast enough, Yep.
Yeah, especially that last level we played fully through on the stream where you're in the pyramid and like there's really tight corridors and those enemies took multiple hits and when you have a spawner on each side of you, you're just basically screwed.
Yep.
So it's like you have to keep punching forward, otherwise you're done.
Yep. And I didn't see too much of the difference. Maybe it doesn't damage, but the faster you throw, the more you throw, the smaller your ball gets that you're throwing.
Right.
And at one point it got bigger, so I don't know if there is a power up in this game. I must have grabbed something. I'm not sure what it was. But
Yeah.
I think that was the only power up that I saw in this game.
Yeah, I think you're right, and that's kind of worth noting. Like for a platformer, it's lacking in that regard. Like your gameplay mechanic never really changes because there's nothing to change that up, or no invincibility, or no um, even like special stages or anything. We didn't. Maybe there is some of that. We didn't run into any of it.
No.
But the biggest thing with this game is just like all Taito stuff in that vein. Like the presentation is just great. Like it's super cute.
Yep.
This seems to have like a really cool level to level design, different areas and themes and stages, and the fact that on some of these levels, in between, you get to pick which version of that stage you're going to. That's a neat touch. I don't know that I've seen it in other games. Like you think, I always think I compare this very heavily to like Blue's Journey for the Neo Geo. It feels the most similar to me. I mean, they're pretty wildly different.
Colors and
both
everything.
being being based around arcade platformers.
Yep.
I don't know. Everything else about it is really cool. It feels like it's like 70% of the way to being like an unforgettable platformer, and it just doesn't have that last little nudge.
Yeah, I do want to bring up one cool bit I thought was really neat was they do have some sort of timer underneath this, like level time. But instead of just like having it on screen and then once you reach 0, you just die. This seems to have some sort of like jester enemy that kind of floats around trying to come after you. Which is cool that it's like, well, yeah, you're punished because you're slow, but theoretically you could master yourself out of this,
Yeah. And that again is lifted from like Bubble Bobble and games like Snow Bros. They've got those guys too. So it's kind of like a throwback to, the single screen puzzle platforming roots kind of.
Yep.
Yeah, and sound design's good. I mean, Taito stuff always is. I don't know if there was anything that was like nothing was super memorable to the point where like I was humming it after I played it, but it was all good. I really like the character design too, like that little like cutesy platypus thing or whatever it is. I don't know.
Yep.
It looks like Bob and Bob, but it's not.
And the butts that have umbrellas. It's good too.
Okay. Yeah, that enemy was a little disturbing. There were some very weird enemies. Like, and those bombs with like the giant lips were just creepy as hell. I don't know. There's some definite oddball Japanese influence, I think, in some of that. And maybe that's the one thing, with this game is like the enemy types didn't seem cohesive within the shell of this platformer. For the most part, I felt like the bosses fit, but I didn't feel like a lot of the enemies just felt like they were lifted from something else altogether.
Yeah, they were just kind of, there was no real theme to them. Even like when you went to like a pyramid, wasn't anything like really Egyptian, really. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's weird.
It was kind of had that Commander Keen thing to me, where like a lot of those enemies are kind of just random weird things,
Some of that early DOS, like just oddness. You just learn to accept it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, what do you think you'd give this thing then in the Byron Burn scale?
I feel kind of bad about this because but we picked it as the Turbografx version or the PC Engine version.
Yep.
If we were saying this is the arcade, we were playing the arcade game, I think I might buy this because it's for a arcade platformer. This is a really good one.
Yeah.
For a home console version, I can't do that. So I think I'm going to give it a rent because I think it's enjoyable enough. I don't think it has the depth of what you want out of a home console platformer, especially at this stage in gaming.
Sure.
But I think that's a kind of a generous rent as far as a home console game, which is, it's crazy where I'm like praising it to death as an arcade game, but
yeah,
it's that huge of a disparity between, platforms that kind of does it for me. But I'll give it a light rent.
Sure. I'd probably go buy. Just because there aren't a lot of like solid platformers on that console, or ones that I think like have this level of detailed design and flair, like outside of like Bonk. Plus, I'm a really big sucker and fan of, Rainbow Island, Bubble Bobble, Bust to Move. So I think that goes a long way to just kind of play into what I like about this game. I would agree. I don't think it's got a lot of replay value, and I don't think it's got the best gameplay, and it progressively just kind of gets, the levels just seem to get progressively less interesting and more frustrating. But that said, I just I get those opening few stages, just get me every time. Like I've gone back and played this game quite a bit on my Turbografx with my Turbo Everdrive, and I just kind of really like the vibe of it in those opening few stages. So
oh yeah, for sure. This is one of the coolest quarter that you're going to spend,
yeah. So, and it always feels like one of those games, like when I'm talking to people about this console, it's like, have you played that game? So I'd be lying if I said I wouldn't buy it, but I think a lot of that's just nostalgia fueled and around a pretty cool concept, but not fully realized, like we said.
The title bias is showing through.
100%. 100%. Well, I think that's another buy, rent, burn an episode in the books then.
It is. Yeah, we have we streamed this game. We made it somewhat, I would say, decently far.
I think so. Yeah.
But yeah, it got way longer. Every level got crazy long. It was weird.
Yeah.
Where the first level is like 10 seconds long. They just kept getting longer and longer. But yeah, well, that's over at twitch.tv/weekend rental. We do that on the off Tuesdays. We're usually playing the game that we're going to do for this. You can email us at weekendrentalpodcast@gmail.com. We're also on the Twitter. But until next time, be kind, rewind.